Welcome everybody, welcome. CHIMAOGE here. Welcome to the first ever Hand of God live stream segment. Tabernacle stand forever. All the arches. Alright. Let me plug this in. Given the angle of my phone, I don't know how the charger will go in, but be something. Yeah, this is the hand of God. I've been thinking of how to do it. The hand of God is basically me explaining something I said earlier in more depth. It could be something very specific or something I've generally been talking about. Welcome, welcome. Pray for everyone on this live. Help me, help yourself. I should just start saying that. That's really what I've been trying to say with all this stuff. Help me, help yourself. Help me, help yourself. Help the community, help the world. Lord have mercy. What is that? Fall. The hand of God, the hand of God, Abun God, Abun God, the hand of God. I'm the head of the hand of God. I am the head of the hand of God. The hand of God, the hand of God, the head of the hand of God. I am the head of the hand of God. All right, let's make sure I have reception. Yep, okay. So this is plugged in. This is a little awkward, but let's just leave it here. Anyway, welcome to CHIMAOGE's Comments. I did 2 other live streams today. Check them out. Most especially check out the emergency message over on MAOGE. The way this media company works, each network is independent and has its own purpose, but they also intertwine. And weirdly, the way things intertwine, MAOGE is part of CHIMAOGE's Comments. Why? My ancestors told me. Don't understand. Basically, my personal network is a subset of this, because my personal network is me talking about myself, giving out information that is relevant to the public about myself, and then also talking about my thoughts and emotions. And then this, it's many things, but the one I want to point to here is this is me trying to refine my process of getting facts. Registered reviewer, welcome. So I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, that process subsumes my personal stuff. Yes. For those of you who can't see, this is the thing I'm hitting here. This little hand chime. Yes, 12. Nkwa, sun, nkwa, sun. Anyway, talking about economics. What's my big message here? One thing I've been saying a lot in many different ways is that we don't talk about economics in the right way, and there's a lot of Republican stupidity when it comes to economics, both personal and public. The big thing I want to give out is you should never talk about the details of so-called economics without also talking about relationships. Why? Because the flow of what we call money is about how people are relating to one another. So it doesn't make sense to just talk about who has money without also talking about relationships. And yes, I'm talking at heart about romantic relationships, but also non-romantic relationships must be talked about as well, because those exist in a continuum. So that's the big idea of the Hand of God today. Let me just give out the piece of paper where you can patronize me. I talked about it before, but I don't want to say too much. Really, after the 10-minute mark, I'll only stay on if I feel like it. But yeah, that's the big idea. So anytime you see me talk about economic statistics, I'm going to also talk about relationship statistics. So let me give an example. It's very common for people to talk about the GDP, the gross domestic product of different countries. But if you see that in isolation, that's not good. It is better, and I'll say it another way, it is at least presentable if when you give the GDP, you also give the marriage rate. So just came out here, I just saw 444, I'm on song, let's make a wish, let's all grow. So anytime I give a GDP, I'm also going to give a country's marriage rate. And if one is not available, I'll just say, well, I don't know much about this place. Anyway, So yeah, and what's the hand of God? The hand of God. The hand of God, just talking about that, is another name for the God of thunder. Most specifically, it refers to the fifth cycle of the God of thunder. The God of thunder is one of the 49 things that undergirds existence. It has many people within it, both people like me and you, and then what are known as expansion people. If you think of the concept of gods and goddesses, that's what it is. Those are people who can basically inhabit multiple realities and realms. Obviously, there's only one big reality, but there are different segments of it. So, for example, you have some people who live in Oseberua now, Hellfire, right? Most of them are not bad. Hellfire is misunderstood, and then you have people who live in the world. Those are different realities. It's all part of the same reality. Anyway, they can live in multiple ones at once. We can't. We're all in one reality. If you think you're in more than one reality at once, you need to eat more. Anyway, the whole point is there are many things that are within the God of Thunder. The God of Thunder can be called by many names. And thank you for the comments. I'll read them at my discretion. The God of Thunder can be called by many names. And all the other things work similarly, although they have their differences. But there are 5 cycles to each thing. The God of Thunder's 5th cycle is most exactly called the Hand of God. You could also call it Akua, the hand of this world, the hand of this universe, the extension of this world, the extension of this universe. Alajide, the holder of the land, all those things, right? Ageze, the cool cat, the saber tooth, all those things. So that's the Hand of God, right? The idea of the Hand of God is that it's smashing the being known as God in his face whenever he tries to emerge from hell to create havoc in this world. So if you didn't know, the being could most exactly be called God. And again, the idea of that word and the God concept has been distorted, but the being who could most exactly be called God is actually evil. If you don't believe me, just look at what people, and especially groups of people who worship God, do. They just commit acts of evil. And the only reason they say they're good is they worship God. Nonsense. Anyway, the whole point is the Hand of God is given to him to keep it in check. So whenever he tries to act, he just smashes him in the face. Let me not smash myself in the face. Say this is the Hand of God, this is God. Nope. So that's also a metaphor for getting rid of ignorance. Because God is a metaphor for that ignorant person within you that wants to take over you and make you do stupid things. Anyway, if you don't believe me, look at the pastor up there. Anyway, check out my emergency message. But whenever you're thinking about money, and I'll go into that more in a second, think about relationships. And if you're unsure which relationships to look at, start with romantic relationships because those are the deepest ones. Yes. Anyway, another thing to note, a trend I've noticed, I'll look into it more. This is a soft declaration, but a trend I've noticed is that richer people tend to get married later. So that's a soft declaration. I'll look into it more. I want to make sure I've seen those statistics correctly. I know there's some segments of society where that's true. I just want to make sure it is indeed the overall trend. But what that seems to indicate to me is people trade in money for relationships, which is unhealthy. So, again, we need to refine how we talk about privilege and things of that, but are the rich better off than the poor? Not necessarily. It's more the rich's fault. But anyway, you don't need to be doing all that. And also, I need more food, which is the thrust of the emergency message. So please patronize me. Join me on Patreon. You can buy my art there. You can also subscribe there. I sell merchandise. I sell on Chimoge's comment. Well, here's Chimoge's comments in the Patreon shop. In the merchandise store, there are currently 4 items. There's a notebook. There's a T-shirt. There's a bikini. And then there's one other item. I'm forgetting exactly what it is. I have to look. I believe it might be a water bottle. But anyway, check it out. And I'm going to add more items. Let's add another short. Yeah, anyway, that's the Hand of God. So that's my big explanation. One other thing on money. A lot of times, when people focus their economic analysis on money, they miss a lot because they don't understand what money is. I'll just say it like this: money is not the only possible means of exchange. Because of that, you can't just assume that you know what the flow of goods is just because you're looking at how much money people have. Because bartering and trading is still valid. And either it's happening and you're missing it, or it's not happening, you need to find out why. And also, money is itself a good, and I'll leave it at that. So that's one way to say it. Another way to say it is, just because someone has money doesn't mean they have the means to obtain goods. Just because someone doesn't have money doesn't mean they do not have the means to obtain goods. So it's best to actually think of what things people are trying to get and then factor money into that instead of going the other way around. You miss everything. Can I give a third example? Let me try. Okay, let me use the example of candy, and then I'll leave. So, for example, it is very possible for someone to get candy without having money. Say they ask someone for candy, it's simply given to them free. Or they give someone, let's say in this case, a backpack for a big bag of candy, right? Say it's a large bag, right? They didn't use money in that transaction, but they obtained candy. So if you're only trying to see whether or not they have candy or the ability to obtain candy by looking at how much money is in their pocket, you'll miss a lot of things. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, thank you very much. Just wanted to get on here real quick. Really, the secondary purpose of this is to advertise the emergency message over on MAOGE. Anyway, kind of tired. See you next time. Goodbye.